let's talk about home ties. Okay, as a young guy, as a married man, you want to go to study in Canada, and then your mind is already shaking. Okay, how do I solve this issue of home ties? Okay, how do I prove to the IRCC, okay, or to the Canadian visa officer that when I go to study in Canada, at the end of my stay, I have obligations that will draw me back home? Now, one thing you must understand what are the things that constitute, or what are the things that makes up home ties. Home ties are proven evidences, okay, or ideas or narratives that you give to the visa officer, not to you, okay, because the thing can be sounding like home tie to you, but the visa officer is looking at it and saying that, these are things that means that you not actually come back. Okay, so things, ideas, narrative documents, okay, that sounds to the visa officer or gives the visa officer the idea that you have strong pull back home. Okay, so we are going to Canada to study. Okay, how are we sure that, what are the things that pull this guy home after he's going to finish his studies? What are the things that are going to make us to believe that, okay, this guy is going to actually come back? Okay, so those things that you show to prove that are what we call home ties. Now, IRCC, they have the data of countries that they know that the indigenous of these countries rarely come back to their country or to their home country after studies. They know. So, of course, from previous data over the years and all this, they know that citizens from so and so country, after they finish studying, you can't see them anymore. They know that citizens from so and so country, after they finish studying, okay, they come back. So they have this data. Now, that is one. You must have that in mind. So if you know, okay, I didn't call Nebo, but if you know that your country, after most times, many of your people that left, after the story, they rarely come back, just know that you are already disadvantaged. But all hope is not lost. Okay. Now, IRCC also has data on what we call migrant rich countries. Now, these are countries that the socioeconomic status of this country is very, 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 bad, or very, very, very disadvantaged compared to Canada. So basically, you have global or global south. Okay, so countries from global south, okay, if you are from here, these are countries that their socioeconomic status or their economic status or economic might, okay, people from these countries, okay, they tend to have a very low standard of living compared to, people that are in Canada. So they know that if you are coming from such a country that have this kind of low standard of living, and then you go to Canada, and then life is good and everything, high salary and all this kind of thing. You know that rarely people that, when they go to Canada, they rarely want to come back. So they know, okay, they tag them migrant rich countries. Okay. Now, these are also countries that may be currently facing harsh economic situations. So possibly inflation, possibly rise in poverty, possibly famine, war-torn countries, or countries that are facing serious security unrest. So they know that these are what we call migrant rich countries. Okay. So if your country also falls into this category, know that you are also heavily disadvantaged. Okay, that's two. Now, all hope is not lost. Okay, there are still ways that you can show the IRCC that, look, in spite of all this, or don't look at all this, look at me, consider me as an individual, okay, not stereotype, and see that, I have strong home ties. One way that you can, help people is by liking this video, sharing and subscribe, because there are a lot of people that are applying for Canada visa and they don't really know what they are doing. They are just applying for a Canada visa, putting their documents together, and they don't really know what they are doing. So like, share, subscribe, so that you can help a lot of people. Now, back to the point. There are several ways that you can show the IRCC, okay, that you have home ties. Okay, one of them is through family. Okay, this is one of the strongest ways that you can show home ties. Now, even inside this family, it's not everybody that constitute a family that, there are different levels of home ties when it comes to even inside this family category. Your wife and, your wife and kids, okay, have a stronger pool or a stronger level of home ties than, let's say, your grandfather or a granduncle. Okay. Now, aside from family, you can also show it through hard assets. Now, this includes landed documents, car documents, rental income, rental properties, just hard assets. Okay, businesses. So you have a business that that is booming. So business, all those things constitute also as what we call hard assets. They constitute as home ties. Okay. Now, you can also show this through job obligation. So if you are working in a job and then you are earning some amount of salary, it must be a very good salary. Okay, you can get an obligation that, look, after my studies, this company is going to retain me or they're going to give me an employment immediately. So I have a waiting employment for me back home or a job obligation, paid job obligation back home. So this also can serve a very strong motor. However, there are catches. Okay, so you can't just use any job obligation. You can't just use any form of a paid job commitment and say, oh look, I have this as my home ties. If not, it may even adversely affect your own visa case. Okay. Now you also have community engagement. So take for instance, you are a prince, you are a leader in your community, you have NGO, you are doing a lot of community works. Now that can also serve as a strong home tie if you have lots of community engagement. I'm a prince, I'm a ruler in my community. I'm supposed to take over from my father that is a king. All these kind of things. So those also give you strong home ties. Okay. And the last one is your SOP. And this is where a lot of people have issues. Your SOP, if well defined, can be a very strong evidence, okay, of home ties. How do you do that for SOP? You have to ensure that whatever you are saying and the entire context of your visa application, everything is tied back home. I am going to study this course because I am going to apply so and so at home. I'm going to study this course because this course is not being offered in my country where I am, or the standard at which the course is being offered in my country where I am, there is no practicum. There are no practical lessons. So I am going to Canada to study this course, to come back and apply so and so to my business, apply so and so to my career to achieve so and so. Okay. So these are the ways that you are going to. Now, going forward, I'm going to break down each and every of these home ties, each and every of these patterns, and then you are going to know how to document and present home ties if you are using your family, if you are using your employment documents, if you are using community standing SOP. I'm going to break them down, and then please note that you mustn't use one. Okay, so you can have like multiple. You can have your family and then paid obligation. You can have your family, your business, landed assets, community engagement all together with your SOP. So we are going to break down each and every of these. Okay, so that at the end of the day, when you are making your application, you are going to ensure that you put in a very standard and something that is above par. So one way again that you can help a lot of people is by liking this video, subscribing and sharing it, okay, so that the algorithm can do its work, can get it out to a lot of people.